In the Dhammacakkappavattana, the Buddha said, of paths, the eightfold is the best. Of truths, the four sayings are the best. There are different kinds of truth in the world. Conventional truth, ultimate truth, or speech that is called truth, and the Four Noble Truths. So among them, Buddha said, the Four Noble Truths are the best. Only by realizing the Four Noble Truths can one make an end of suffering. And these Four Noble Truths we have learned as they were taught in the first sermon, or as they were taught to the 5 disciples. But Buddha did not stop there. He went on to say that he had known these truths, or he had penetrated these truths thoroughly, fully, in various aspects. He mentioned that he had known these each of these four noble truths in 3 different ways. And the first is knowing that they are the truth. This is the truth of suffering. This is the truth of origin of suffering, and so on. That means fully knowing the Four Noble Truths. And then he said he penetrated, or he knew these Four Noble Truths in another aspect. And that is with regard to the function, to each of the Four Noble Truths. Function means what is to be done with regard to each of the Four Noble Truths. And then he said he had known these Noble Truths with regard to, say, accomplishment, or with regard to what has been done to that truth. So he said he had known the first noble truth in 3 ways, and these are, say, this he knew that this is the noble truth of suffering. That means these 5 aggregates are the noble truth of suffering. This is one aspect of understanding or knowledge of the first noble truth. And here, understanding that this is the noble truth of suffering, or these 5 aggregates of clinging are the noble truth of suffering, does not mean just superficial knowledge or just book knowledge, but thoroughly understanding or seeing the 5 aggregates of clinging. That means seeing their individual nature or characteristic, seeing their general characteristic, that is, seeing them as they really are, seeing them as mind and matter, seeing them arising and disappearing, seeing them as impermanent, suffering, and insubstantial. And also seeing the five aggregates as danger, as suffering, and so on. So seeing thoroughly the Four Noble Truths is the knowledge of understanding it, that this is the noble truth of suffering. With regard to the second noble truth, he knew that this is the noble truth of origin of suffering. Here, this means the craving. So this craving, these three kinds of craving are the noble truth of origin of suffering. This craving is the cause of suffering, which are the five aggregates of clinging. And here also he understood, or he saw that craving is a driving force in bringing about fresh rebirth in this life or in that life. And because of this craving for sense objects, craving accompanied by eternalist view, and craving accompanied by annihilationist view, there is rebirth in the future. And this craving, because of this craving, people grasp at, beings grasp at things, especially at the moment of, or just before the moment of death. And as a result of that grasping, there is produced in the next life what we call rebirth. So rebirth means actually the resultant consciousness and the material properties. So Buddha fully understood that the craving is the cause or origin of suffering, or cause or origin of the five aggregates of clinging. And that is understanding second noble truth as it is. With regard to the third noble truth, the understanding means this is the noble truth of cessation of suffering. That is, this cessation of craving is the cessation of suffering. So here Buddha knew that with the cessation of origin or cause, there is the cessation of result. So if we want to get rid of the result, we just have to get rid of the cause or the origin. So when the origin or cause is totally destroyed, there can be no more results of it, and so there is no more aggregates arising, and so there is no more suffering. And then with regard to the fourth noble truth, Buddha knew this is the noble truth leading to the cessation of suffering. That is the middle path consisting of 8 factors is the road to the cessation of suffering. And here also Buddha knew that these 8 factors, these 8 ingredients, work together, and at the moment of enlightenment, or at the moment when they reach full maturity, they eradicate, they destroy the second noble truth, which is craving, and thus enabling one to become a noble person, or to become enlightened. So Buddha knew these 4 noble truth in this aspect, as this is the noble truth of suffering, this is the noble truth of origin of suffering, this is the noble truth of cessation of suffering, and this is the noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Buddha also knew what is to be done with respect to each of these four noble truths. So, with regard to the first noble truth, what is to be done is to understand it thoroughly, to understand it fully. So this is the function to be done with regard to the first noble truth. That means the first noble truth is not for eradication, not for realization, not for development, but for thorough understanding. So what we should do with regard to the first noble truth is to understand it thoroughly. And here, to understand it thoroughly means to understand it through self-knowledge, through the practice of vipassana meditation, and also through the moment of enlightenment. The function towards second noble truth is to abandon it. Now, the second noble truth is thirst or craving. And if we want to get rid of suffering altogether, we have to eradicate it, we have to abandon it. So the function to be done with regard to the second noble truth is to abandon it, to destroy it, to eradicate it. Now, although it is called a noble truth, we are not cherishing it, we are not keeping it, we are abandoning it, we are destroying it. Means if we are really successful. So, not every truth is to be cherished in the teachings of the Buddha. So here, with regard to the second noble truth, which is craving, what we should do is to abandon it, to try to practice the way by which we can abandon it. So the function towards second noble truth is to abandon. Then the third noble truth, the cessation of suffering, is to realize it, to make it real. It is not just for understanding, and it cannot be eradicated, it cannot be developed, but it can be realized. So, with regard to the third noble truth, which is cessation of suffering or nibbana, the function to do is to realize it, to make it real, to make the cessation of or eradication of mental defilements real. And that realization of the cessation of mental defilements or the cessation of craving is accomplished at the moment of enlightenment, especially at the moment of the fourth stage of enlightenment. So at the moment of enlightenment at the fourth stage, the third noble truth or nibbana is fully realized, or the cessation of craving is made real. So the function towards the third noble truth is to realize it or to make it real. And the function towards the fourth noble truth is to develop, to practice. If we do not practice, then we cannot realize the third noble truth. So the fourth noble truth is not for understanding, not for abandoning, not for realization, but for development. So functions towards the fourth noble truth is to practice it. And since the fourth noble truth comprises both the preliminary path as well as the supramundane path, we begin with this preliminary path, which is vipassana meditation. So when we practice vipassana meditation, we are treading on the fourth noble truth, mundane side of the fourth noble truth. And when vipassana becomes fully matured, it will give rise to the real path. Actually, the real path or the enlightenment is the outcome of the practice of vipassana meditation. So with regard to the fourth noble truth, what is to be done is to develop it, to make it much, to make it grow. So these are the four functions. To the first noble truth, what? Fully understanding. To the second noble truth, abandoning. To the third noble truth, realizing. And to the fourth noble truth, developing. Then, after doing these functions to these four noble truths, there is an understanding that these functions have been done. So that is one aspect of an understanding of the four noble truths. With regard to first noble truth, it arose in the Buddha that I have fully understood the first, the noble truth of suffering. And with regard to second, I have abandoned the second noble truth. With regard to the third, I have realized the third noble truth. And with fourth, and I have developed the fourth noble truth. So, to each noble truth, there are three aspects of understanding. And so, altogether, we get 12 aspects of understanding with regard to the four noble truths. And when these aspects of understanding arose in the Buddha, he described, or he uses 5 words to describe that understanding. And that arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, penetrative insight, and light. Light means also light of wisdom, or light of knowledge, or light of understanding. And when Buddha said this, Buddha said, concerning things unheard of before. So this understanding of, say, the first noble truth arose in me concerning things unheard of before. That means the four noble truths are unheard of before by any person. Then Buddha discovered these four noble truths. Now, Buddha was not the creator of these four noble truths. The four noble truths are there to be discovered. Like law of gravitation. So, law of gravitation was not created by Sir Isaac Newton. It was already there from the beginning of the world, but Newton came and then he discovered it, and so we call it Newton's law or something like that. Similarly, the Buddha did not create these Four Noble Truths. They are there to be discovered, and then he came and he discovered and he revealed it to the world. The only difference is we cannot say that from the beginning of the world they were hidden, because according to Theravada Buddhists, this present world is called the good world. In Pali, Dhammacakkappavattana. And it is predicted that there will be 5 Buddhas in this world. I mean, in the duration of this world cycle. 4 Buddhas have already passed, and the 5th is to come in the future. We don't know when. Maybe millions and billions of years from now. Now, every Buddha taught these Four Noble Truths, or every Buddha discovered these Four Noble Truths and taught them to the world. So the first Buddha in this particular world discovered Four Noble Truths and taught them. And when that Buddha disappeared, and also his dispensation disappeared, these Four Noble Truths were hidden under a thick cover of ignorance and craving. Then, after many, many years, the second Buddha appeared. And then he rediscovered, he discovered the Four Noble Truths revealed to the world. And then with his demise and with the disappearance of his dispensation, they were hidden again. Then the third Buddha appeared. The same thing happened. And then our Buddha, the Gautama Buddha, appeared, and he discovered these Four Noble Truths. So when he said, not unheard of before, that means unheard of since the disappearance of the third Buddha. The third Buddha's name was Kassapa Buddha. So unheard of since the disappearance of the third Buddha until his time. So Buddha said the knowledge of these Four Noble Truths in these 12 aspects arose in him with regard to the unheard of things in the past. After telling them about his full knowledge of the Four Noble Truths, Buddha said, O monks, as long as my knowledge of reality and insight regarding the Four Noble Truths in 3 aspects and 12 ways was not fully clear to me, so long did I not admit to the world, with its devas, maras, and brahmas, to the mass of beings with its recluses, brahmins, kings, and people, that I had understood, attained, and realized rightly by myself the incomparable, the most excellent, perfect enlightenment. In other words, the perfectly enlightened supreme Buddhahood. Now, what Buddha said here was, as long as his knowledge of reality and insight regarding these Four Noble Truths in all these 12 aspects was not fully clear in him, he did not admit to be the fully enlightened one. He did not admit to be the Buddha. So only when the knowledge of the Four Noble Truths in all these aspects was clear in him did he admit that did he admit to be the fully enlightened one, or did he admit to be the Samma Sambuddha. So it was something like a criterion for being a Buddha or not. So if he is a Buddha, he must have known these Four Noble Truths in these 12 12 aspects, and this he must have known all by himself and not with the help of any other person. Now, Buddhas and Pacceka Buddhas. Pacceka Buddhas are a kind of Buddhas. Buddhas and Pacceka Buddhas became, say, Buddhas and Pacceka Buddhas without the help of any teacher. But the disciples, beginning with Sariputta, must have got instructions from a teacher to practice meditation and to become arahants. So that is the difference. For Buddhas and Pacceka Buddhas, they don't need any teacher. But for disciples, beginning with the Venerable Sariputta, they need a teacher to teach them how to practice meditation or whatever. So that is the difference. So here, so long as the knowledge of these four noble truths and all the 12 aspects was not clear in him, then he did not claim himself to be a Buddha. That is why he did not say anything regarding his enlightenment, his Buddhahood, before he became the Buddha. When the 5 disciples were very enthusiastic about his practice of severe asceticism, Buddha had not penetrated the 4 noble truths. So he did not say anything to them with regard to his enlightenment. But only after he has become the Buddha, he has gained the knowledge into the 4 noble truths, did he claim to be the Buddha. So to whom did he admit that he was a Buddha? As far as we know in this story, to the ascetic he met on his way to the deer park. I hope you remember that. So when he was going on his way to the deer park, he met an ascetic, and then ascetic asked him, "Friend, your face is clear, your complexion is good. So, say, who is your teacher? Whose teaching you like, and so on." And at that time, Buddha said, "I have no teacher, and I am the knower of all, and I am the self rightly and self-enlightened one." That means Sammasambuddha. So at that time, Buddha declared himself to be a real Sammasambuddha. And also when he met the 5 disciples, although he did not use the word Sammasambuddha at that time, he declared to them that he had got the deathless state. That means he had become the Buddha. So only after the realization of the 4 noble truths, after the full knowledge of the 4 noble truths, did he claim himself to be the fully enlightened one. And then he went on to say, knowledge and vision arose in me, maybe with regard to his enlightenment. Knowledge and vision arose in me. Unshakable is my deliverance. This is the last existence. Now there is no more rebirth for me. Now Buddha said, unshakable is my deliverance. So his deliverance from mental defilements, his freedom from mental defilements is unshakable. That means indestructible. Since he has eradicated the mental defilements altogether, that eradication is final. And so these mental defilements will never again arise in his mind. And so his freedom from mental defilements, his freedom from his deliverance from mental defilements is unshakable, indestructible. Now, when you abandon mental defilements by jhanas, and you can keep them at a distance for some time. Sometimes may mean millions of years. But after the force of these jhanas has been exhausted, then these mental defilements will come back to you. So that is not indestructible deliverance of from mental defilement. His freedom from his deliverance from mental defilement is unshakable, indestructible. Now, when you abandon mental defilements by jhanas, and you can keep them at a distance for some time. Sometimes may mean millions of years. But after the force of these jhanas has been exhausted, then these mental defilements will come back to you. So that is not indestructible deliverance or not unshakable deliverance. But here, Buddha's deliverance from mental defilements is unshakable or indestructible. So never will they arise in his mind in the future, or in his mind again. So he said, unshakable is my deliverance, or indestructible is my deliverance. This is the last existence. So Buddha said, this is the last life. This is my last life. There is no more rebirth for me. Since he has eradicated all mental defilements, no craving. With the disappearance of his last consciousness in this life, no more will be produced. So nothing will arise after his death consciousness. So that death consciousness will be his last moment, his last consciousness in the whole of samsara, or round of rebirth. So he was happy when he says, this is the last existence and there is no more rebirth for me. And Buddha said these words in his during his ministry for 45 years again and again. So in many discourses we find these words. Say, unshakable is my deliverance, this is the last rebirth or the last existence and there is no more rebirth for me. Immediately after his enlightenment also, Buddha uttered words expressing that he has destroyed the craving which is the builder of the house, and so there is no more rebirth for him. And those utterances are recorded in the Dhammacakkappavattana. And it is said that some teachers said that Buddha did not utter them aloud, but utter to himself in silence. But there are others who said Buddha did utter these words. Now, when a person gets free from some bondage, so when a prisoner gets free from prison, he will naturally be very happy. And so when he is happy, then he will say something with regard to the bondage he had been in. So in the same way, when the Buddha he became the Buddha, he got free from the bondage of existence. That means he will not be reborn, although the present aggregate will remain until his death. So he was so happy that he has got out of this bondage of the dukkha, bondage of aggregate, that he uttered these words out of joy. He was unable to keep them inside, so he had to let them out. And so these two verses are recorded in the Dhammacakkappavattana. And in our countries, we use these verses as a consecration of Buddha images. So when we want to have a consecration ceremony of Buddha images, we recite these verses along with other other sayings of the Buddha. So I would like to read these verses. Through many a birth in samsara wandered I, seeking but not finding the builder of the house. Sorrowful is birth again and again. O house builder, thou art seen. Thou shalt build no house again. All thy rafters are broken. Thy rich pole is shattered. My mind has attained the unconditioned. Achieved is the end of craving. So this is what the Buddha uttered immediately after his enlightenment. So through many a birth in samsara wandered I, seeking but not finding the builder of the house. So he compared his rebirth or his existences and also his aggregate to a house. And then he was seeking for the builder of the house, but he did not find the builder of the house for many, many years. So the builder of the house was what? Craving. So he was looking for this craving for many, many years, but since he could not find the builder of the house, he had to be reborn again and again. And having to be reborn again and again is sorrowful or painful. So sorrowful is birth again and again. O house builder, thou art seen. Now you are seen. Thou shalt build no house again. So in the future, you will not build any house for me. All thy rafters are broken, thy rich pole is shattered. That means all other mental defilements along with you are destroyed, and the rich pole, that means the ignorance, which is like a pinnacle of the rich pole, that is also shattered. So this means that all mental defilements, including craving and ignorance, are shattered, broken, eradicated. My mind has attained the unconditioned. Unconditioned means nibbana. So my mind has gone to nibbana, or my mind has taken nibbana as object, and so achieved is the end of craving. So all craving of end of all craving is achieved, and so there will be no more craving for the Buddha. Since there are no more cravings, there will be no more rebirth. So these are the verses Buddha uttered immediately after his enlightenment. So here in the Sutta also, Buddha said, this is my last rebirth. There will be no more rebirth for me. Thus spoke the Blessed One, and the group of the 5 monks greatly rejoiced and welcomed the words of the Blessed One with delight. So Buddha ended his his discourse with the words, I have no more rebirth. So after that, at the Buddhist Council, it was recorded that the 5 groups of monks are greatly rejoiced at the Buddha's preaching, and so they welcomed the words of the Buddha with great delight. Now, while this discourse was being expounded or has just been expounded, the deathless, stainless eye of Dhamma arose to the Venerable Kondanya. Everything that has the nature of arising has the nature of ceasing. Now, it means that, there are five disciples hearing the Dhamma. And one of them was named Kondanya. He was the Brahmin who foretold that the prince would actually become the Buddha and not a universal monarch. So I think he was the most intelligent of all 5 disciples. So immediately after the discourse, that is, when the discourse has just been expounded, Kondanya became a Sotapanna. It is described here as the deathless, stainless eye of Dhamma arose to the Venerable Kondanya. So whenever you see some words like this, when you read the discourses, you can understand it to mean the enlightenment. The first stage or second stage or third stage or fourth stage. Now, the deathless, stainless eye of Dhamma, understanding of the Dhamma, it is deathless. No, it is not accompanied by mental defilement, and it is capable of eradicating mental defilements. So it is called deathless, stainless eye of Dhamma. And when this eye of Dhamma arose in a person, it arose in this way. Everything that has the nature of arising has the nature of ceasing. This is how that knowledge arises. So when that knowledge arises, he has in his mind and this. Everything that has the nature of arising has the nature of ceasing. So everything that is a beginning has an end. So it means that the Kondanya became a stream winner or a Sotapanna. Now, it looks very easy for Kondanya to become a Sotapanna. He just listened to the Buddha, and then at the end of the discourse, he became enlightened and he became a Sotapanna. But we should not take that he didn't do anything but just listen to the discourse and became a Sotapanna. Because to become a Sotapanna, there must be enlightenment or realization stage. And in order to reach that realization stage, there must be the preliminary stage. So this preliminary stage cannot be skipped. But here, he became a Sotapanna in so short a time that it seemed he almost did nothing to get enlightenment. But when paying attention to what the Buddha was saying, when attentively listening to the discourse, there might be something going on in his mind about the first noble truth, second noble truth, third noble truth, and fourth noble truth, and he might be contemplating on the mind and matter or the 5 aggregates. And so actually he was in a process of practicing vipassana meditation while he was listening to the Buddha. And also, although not recorded in the discourse, there must have been some explanation of the Buddha or instructions given by the Buddha, because without explanations or without instructions, Kondanya could not have become a Sotapanna. So, in reality, when the Buddha gave this sermon, Buddha gave them in a much fuller form than was recorded as we have it today. Since these instructions are too much, maybe, and explanations and questions and answers, they were not recorded in the discourse, because these discourses are meant to be memorized. And if there are too much of details, then it would be very difficult to commit to memory. I think that is why these details were left out in the discourses. But just hearing the discourse and becoming a Sotapanna is impossible. Because, as I said, the realization stage must be preceded by the preliminary stage, which is vipassana. So he must have practiced vipassana during and maybe a little after the discourse. But as recorded in this discourse, he became a Sotapanna immediately after this discourse was given. Then what about the other four? It is not recorded in this order that they became enlightened as a result of listening to this discourse. Now, after Kondanya became a Sotapanna, then the discourse recorded in the scriptures went on to tell us that when Buddha delivered this sermon, then the deities, all deities, praised the Buddha, or deities made the acclamation that the Blessed One or the Buddha, when the Buddha had set in motion the wheel of Dhamma, the earthbound devas proclaimed in one voice, the incomparable wheel of Dhamma has been set in motion by the Blessed One at Isipatana, the deer sanctuary in the township of Varanasi. A motion which no recluse, nor Brahmana, nor any Deva, nor Mara, nor Brahma, nor any other being in the world could reverse or prevent. So Buddha has set in motion this wheel of Dhamma, and that nobody could stop or nobody could revert it. So the devas, first the earthbound devas, and then the other devas whose abodes are in the sky and reaching as far as the Brahma world. So all these devas and Brahmas proclaimed in one voice that the Buddha had delivered the sermon. Buddha had turned the wheel of Dhamma at Isipatana, the deer park near Varanasi, and so on. So the voice or the proclamation went forth up to the world of the Brahmas. So the proclamation pervaded all through the world and then go up as far as the world of Brahmas. And then there is a mention of the earthquake. I'm a little uncomfortable about that. The entire cosmos of the thousand worlds shook in upward motion, quaked in upward and downward motion, and trembled in four directions. An immeasurable sublime radiance caused by the mighty teaching, surpassing even the majestic divine radiance of the devas, appeared on earth. So there was a big earthquake at the end of this discourse, and it is stated that the world shook in upward motion, and then quake in upward and downward motion, and then trembled in 4 directions. Now, only 15 seconds quake has caused a lot of damage in the Bay Area. So we can imagine how much damage it will cause if the earthquake as stated in this way. Maybe there were no big buildings at that time, and so however severe the earthquake was, there was not much damage, or because it is because of the power of the Buddha that nobody was hurt or something like that. So I'm not sure. But there was an earthquake at that time, so maybe a little shake. And then Buddha said, Kondanya has realized the Dhamma, Kondanya has realized the Dhamma. So only at that time other people know that Kondanya has become a Sotapanna. Then after that, the Venerable Kondanya asked the Buddha to ordain him, to accept him as a person who has gone forth and also as a monk. At that time there were no Buddhist monks yet, so he was the first Buddhist monk. So the Buddha, Kondanya asked the Buddha to ordain him. And then Buddha said, "Come, monk, practice the holy life to make an end of suffering." So that constitutes ordination for Kondanya. He didn't have to have an ordination ceremony as we have nowadays. Just by the words of the Buddha, "Come, monk," he became a monk. So it is very strange that anybody whom the Buddha called "Come, monk," became a monk. He automatically became a monk with head shaved and with robes and bowls and so on. So he doesn't have to go and buy robes and bowls for his ordination. And it is said that these are the people who had in their past lives aspired for such a form of ordination, and also who had offered robes and bowls in their past lives. Those who have never donated robes or bowls could not hope to become monks like them. And that is the end of this sutta. Now what about the 4? They did not become enlightened on that day, but on the following days they became Sotapannas also. So the next day Buddha taught the two disciples, and the 3 went for alms, and then the food brought by 3, all 6 including Buddha shared. And then next day Buddha taught another 2 or 3, and then others went for alms. And so Buddha did not go for alms on the following day, but the other disciples went for alms, and then they just shared what 2 or 3 brought back. And so Buddha taught them on the following days, and according to tradition or the commentaries, it is said that on the first day after the full moon day, 1 monk became a Sotapanna, and on the second day another monk, on the third day another monk, and on the 4th day another monk. The 5th monk became a Sotapanna. So they became Sotapanna, 1 on each day following the full moon day of this month, full moon day of July. So on the full moon day of July, Kondanya became a Sotapanna, and then on the 1st another, on the 2nd another, on the 3rd another, on the 4th another. And on the 5th day, Buddha assembled all these monks together and preached to them the discourse on anatta, soullessness of things. And at the end of that sutta, these all 5 monks became arahants. So it is reported that at the end of that sutta, there were 6 human arahants in the world, including the Buddha. So 5 arahants and the Buddha. So Buddha was also called an arahant. So this discourse was beneficial to 5 human beings. And according to the commentaries, there were 80 crows. You know crow? So there were 80 crows of devas and brahmas who came to listen to the discourse and became enlightened. So to 5 human beings and to 80 crows of devas and brahmas, this discourse was very beneficial. So we have learned this discourse, and I'm glad that we are not only understanding this discourse, but putting into practice what we understand from this discourse. That is the 4th noble truth, which is the path leading to the cessation of suffering, the 4th noble truth, which is the Noble Eightfold Path, or in other words, which is the path of vipassana. So by the understanding of the 4 noble truths and the discourse, by the practice of vipassana meditation, may we all be able to realize the 3rd noble truth, eradicating the 2nd noble truth, fully understanding the 1st noble truth, and developing the 4th noble truth.